Take that out by one. Caron Butler with the jam. Then after a made free throw.
There's video of a four-time NBA champion knocking his own teammate to the floor, 4 months after the two of them won a title together. And that's not the worst one on this list. Not close.
Game 3 Friday in Chicago is Dwayne Wade, vintage, with the fadeaway.
Practice fights happen in this league. They always have. Nobody hears about them.
Payton backs down, Patterson comes to double.
These 10 got out. Broken jaws, broken hands. A locker room that stopped being a fight.
3 on 2, they're going to try the 3.
Number 10. Gilbert Arenas versus Javaris Crittenton. Washington Wizards, 2009.
From Caron Butler, corner 3 is good.
Remember that card game on the Pistons plane back at number 9? Hold it right next to this one. Same setup, completely different ending. December 2009. The Wizards are flying home. Players are running a game of bourrée in the back, and Crittenton is on a losing streak.
Always, speaking of doing their thing, Nick Young did.
Arenas, by his own admission, kept needling him, hitting the flight attendant call button and announcing they had a jumper. Teammate Anton Jameson had to physically get between them, and they were still arguing when the plane landed. Then, it escalated into something no argument in this league had escalated into before.
How about 20 points in the first half, finished with 30 points and 8 rebounds?
Arenas made a threat in jest about burning Crittenton alive. Crittenton took it seriously and said he'd shoot him. Arenas told him he'd bring the guns to do it. On December 21st, in the Wizards' locker room, Arenas laid 4 unloaded guns in front of Crittenton's stall with a note that said, "Pick one."
And he gets the steal. Big play for Tyreek.
Here's what makes it the worst moment on this list. According to 2 first-hand accounts reported by the Washington Post, Crittenton responded by pulling out his own firearm, loading it, and chambering a round. Crittenton disputed that account. What isn't disputed is that teammates ran out of that locker room and locked the door behind them. Caron Butler wrote later that walking in and seeing 4 guns laid out in front of Michael Jordan's old locker stalls felt like being transported back to the streets he grew up on.
On the other end, Tyreke Evans, the amazing rookie out of Memphis, doing his thing.
The consequences were the harshest in modern league history for anything of this kind. David Stern suspended both men for the rest of the season. Arenas pleaded guilty to a felony gun charge. Crittenton to a misdemeanor. Arenas got 2 years probation starting with 30 days in a halfway house, 400 hours of community service and a fine. Crittenton got a year's probation.
Because of late, their last 5 losses, they dropped by a combined 11.
And then look at what it took. This was a 3-time All-Star on a maximum contract. A man who once dropped 60 on Kobe Bryant's Lakers, and his career was never the same afterward. Crittenton never appeared in another NBA game. Washington tore the roster down to the studs and started over.
They get a free throw and the ball. Kawhi makes the free throw, but the
one-card game on the Pistons plane ended with a black eye and a rule about playing cards. One-card game on the Wizards plane ended with federal charges, a franchise reset, and 2 careers. That's the whole distance this list travels. That's how thin the line is.
2 points. Fourth quarter, Caspi up.
Number 9. Bobby Portis versus Nikola Mirotić, Chicago Bulls, 2017.
It's the Lakers. There's a turnover. Rondo's got it.
This one happened 2 days before opening night. 2 days. And when it was over, one of them was in a hospital and the other was suspended before the season had tipped off.
Gives it up. Butler wide open for 3 on that run. Celtics ball.
October 17th, 2017. Portis and Mirotić are competing for the same starting job at power forward, a battle that had been building for years. They were trash-talking in practice before it turned physical. By Portis' own account, Mirotić kept coming at him and shoving him. Portis threw 1 punch.
Game 3 Friday in Chicago is Dwayne Wade, vintage, with the fadeaway.
It caught Mirotić in the jaw and left him on the floor for several minutes before he could get up. The Bulls' statement that night said Mirotić had suffered a concussion and maxillary fractures. That surgery was likely required, and that he was out indefinitely.
8 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists for Rondo at this point. Jimmy Butler hits.
Here's the number that puts this in perspective. Mirotić missed the first 23 games of the season. Portis was suspended 8. The Bulls front office said both men owned responsibility, but only one threw a punch, and that punch connecting was inexcusable.
Very well, and another turnover. Rondo's got it.
A rebuilding team lost one power forward to injury and the other to suspension, and rookie Lauri Markkanen got thrown into heavy minutes in an opening night loss to Toronto. And here's the part that lingers. Portis apologized publicly and privately, and Mirotić accepted it, but the relationship was never repaired.
They're all on the same page, and that's how basketball's got to be played. 5 guys playing together.
Portis has said they tried to be professional on the court and did it, but off the court, they never really talked. They played cards one time. It was awkward, so they stopped. Mirotić was traded to New Orleans less than a year later. 2 men who worked side by side every day for months, who could not have a conversation.
Gives it up. Butler wide open for 3 on that run. Celtics ball.
Portis carried a reputation out of that gym that he said he never felt he earned, and then went and won a championship in Milwaukee. Mirotić left for Europe and became a EuroLeague MVP. Every fight to this point involved fists, elbows, phones, chairs, weights.
Rajon Rondo
With it. Rondo with 8 rebounds in game 1.
Number 8, Zach Randolph versus Ruben Patterson, Portland Trail Blazers, 2003.
10 to shoot.
Here's the detail that separates this from every fight above it. After it was over, one of these men was too afraid to go home. Portland, 2003. The Jail Blazers, a roster loaded with talent and headlines. Randolph is barely into his 20s, a young big man still finding his footing.
Also playing with Boston, came over in the Baker deal.
Patterson is one of the most feared men in the league and had spent months making the rookie his target. Randolph has described him plainly as a bully. During a scrimmage, Patterson got into it face-to-face with teammate Quintel Woods. Randolph stepped in on Woods' side and sucker punched Patterson, fracturing his eye socket.
Toppin goes open.
Here's where it gets worse. Randolph wasn't done. With Patterson's jersey pulled over his head, Randolph ran back at him and hit him again. Coaches sent Randolph and Woods to the locker room, and it reportedly took about 6 players to hold Patterson back. Patterson was still trying to get through the locker room door.
For Mason, his first foul.
And then the fight ended, and the fear started. Randolph spent the next several days hiding out at teammate Dale Davis's house because he believed Patterson might come shoot him. That's not a rumor invented later. That's the account of a longtime Portland columnist who covered that team.
Daniels thinking about a 3.
Here's the twist most people don't know. Randolph was suspended 2 games and fined $100,000 by the Blazers as the instigator, and Portland kept both men. They remained teammates until 2006, when Patterson was traded to Denver. 3 more years of sharing a locker room after a fractured face.
Desmond Mason beat Patapinko.
And Randolph? The next season, he averaged 20.1 points and 10.5 rebounds and won Most Improved Player. He'd go on to become a franchise icon in Memphis and a genuinely beloved figure in the sport. The NBA will forgive almost anything if you can play. That's not a compliment to the league. It's just the truth. That one broke an eye socket.
1, 2, 3, but I just got the ball. So we got in there too soon.
Number 7, Isiah Thomas versus Bill Laimbeer, Detroit Pistons, 1993.
More important, right now, with this group on the floor, there is not a real post-up threat.
The Bad Boys won 2 championships by being harder than everyone else. Here's the ending nobody puts in the documentaries. They were still doing it to each other after the titles were gone.
Has great strength. He's a small, compact package, but very, very...
November 16th, 1993, Auburn Hills. Detroit is 2-4 and just off a long road trip. Thomas is 32, the franchise, a 2-time champion, averaging 15.5 points and 10.3 assists. Laimbeer is the last piece of the Bad Boys, still swinging elbows in practice.
Walker wide open because the defense had sunk, and here comes Isiah Thomas.
And here's the part you have to understand. This wasn't the first hit. Thomas had already cracked a rib 3 weeks earlier, October 30th, when Laimbeer elbowed him in a preseason practice. He'd been playing through it for 6 games. Then Laimbeer caught him with another elbow.
Point. And what a way to do it. 16 points for the start.
Thomas swung wildly and missed. Teammates and coach Don Chaney pulled them apart. They kept shouting. As Laimbeer turned away, Thomas swung again and connected with the back of his head. Laimbeer's response was that it was just basketball. Thomas told him he didn't have to take it. Chaney called off practice.
Isiah Thomas had the option of the pick and roll, but took the shot himself.
Here's the reveal that makes this one hurt. Laimbeer was fine. Thomas broke the 3rd metacarpal bone in his right hand, his shooting hand. 4 to 6 weeks, cast, no surgery. Neither player was disciplined. He punched his own championship brother in the head and took himself off the floor, and then the whole thing came apart.
Even more important, right now, with this group on the floor, there is not a real post-up threat.
Laimbeer walked away from basketball before that season ended. Thomas tore his Achilles that April and never played again. The two of them, along with Joe Dumars, were the last men standing from the 1989 and 1990 title teams. 2 of the 3 were finished within months. This is a league where legacies are built in June and buried in a gym in November with nobody watching. That fight ended a dynasty's last chapter.
Here on his own, trying to get on the glass. Polonies must help out. Those guards have to get down in there.
Number 6. Xavier McDaniel versus Dale Ellis, Seattle Supersonics, 1990. This fight did not stay on the court. It moved to a parking lot, then into the team's front office, and ended with blood on the floor of a building where people were trying to do paperwork.
3-on-2. Gary on his right, lobs it to Gary, goes to get it, hooks it up. Advantage of Gary's.
November 1990. Seattle is off to a bad start. McDaniel is the X-Man. The Sonics' leading scorer through the first 8 games at 22 points a night. Ellis is a former All-Star who's missed the season with a sore right foot and has just started practicing again. The two had never been close. They argued during practice that day, and coach Casey Jones shut the session down early. Teammates were already irritated with Ellis. He'd watched the previous night's game from the owner's courtside seat rather than the bench.
There's some of that trapping defense.
Here's the escalation. Ellis came back to the building hours later. Per the Chicago Tribune's account, McDaniel confronted him about being unprepared, and Ellis struck him with a portable telephone, a fight that carried from the parking lot into the team offices. This is 1990. That phone was a brick.
Shrefford is finally with the steal. Now Payton the alley.
The Seattle Times reported blood was shed and clothes were torn. Police were called. Reports say 5 people tried to pull them apart. No arrests, no charges, and the Sonics suspended Ellis 5 days without pay for disciplinary reasons, offering no explanation. And here's what it cost the franchise. The Sonics didn't pick a side. They cleared the room. McDaniel was traded 15 games into that season to Phoenix for Eddie Johnson and 2 first-round picks. Ellis was moved to Milwaukee before the year was out. A team with 3 players who'd once all averaged 20 a night dismantled itself over a phone and a bad practice. 1 healthy locker room, 1 bad afternoon. An entire roster changes direction. That one cost a team its 2 best scorers. Number 5. Kobe Bryant versus Shaquille O'Neal, Los Angeles Lakers, 1998.
So with this loss, the Spurs will fall to 53-20.
3 championships, 3 straight, and it started with a pickup game in a college gym where the 2 of them tried to take each other's heads off. This is during the lockout, before the shortened 1998-99 season, at Southwest College near the Lakers facility.
As Kobe Bryant went in, check out the right side of your screen.
Kobe has said they were on opposite teams, trash-talking the whole way. O'Neal is the most physically dominant player alive. Bryant is a third-year guard who has not yet been an all-star starter, has not yet won anything, and is completely certain the franchise belongs to him.
They continued for 4.5 more minutes, Roll. They may have got into another entanglement.
According to Olden Polynice's account in Jeff Pearlman's book, Shaq warned him that one more comment would get him slapped. A few possessions later, Bryant scored, then screamed that it was his team. O'Neal's answer was that it was his team. Then it was hands.
Well, after he wins the tip, then he's 1-on-3. When you want something done.
Everybody remembers this as Shaq disciplining a kid. Kobe remembered it completely differently. He said Shaq threw first, he threw back, and others in the run broke it up, and that he fought back specifically to prove he wouldn't fold. Then he scored every point for his team the rest of the way and won the game.
The battle would continue. Kobe Bryant
Dribble drive.
goes in, slam dancing.
And the tension didn't burn off. It calcified. Years later, when Isiah Ryder joined the Lakers, he said O'Neal offered him $10,000 in cash to fight Bryant in practice. Ryder's own read, he'd have been off that roster immediately if he'd touched Kobe.
Posting up, but check out the background. Monty Williams gets slammed.
They won it all in 2000, and 2001, and 2002. 3 rings out of a partnership neither man wanted. By the summer of 2004, the Lakers chose one and shipped the other to Miami. Greatness and peace are not the same currency in this league. You can have all the rings and none of the second thing. That one produced a dynasty.
6. Van Exel. Rebound, Shaq takes it.
Number 4. Draymond Green versus Jordan Poole. Golden State Warriors, 2022.
Take the lead here.
Every fight before this one lived on second-hand accounts, denials, and a team spokesman saying nothing happened. This one had footage. October 5th, 2022. The Warriors are 4 months removed from a championship.
Payton nearly fouled. Dangerous pass. Shot clock at 3. Brown.
Poole is 23 years old, coming off a postseason where he looked like the future of the franchise. The Athletic reports a physical altercation at practice, and the next day TMZ posts the video. You've seen it. Words are exchanged. Green walks toward Poole. Poole shoves him. Green punches him. The punch drops Poole to the floor, and Green stands over him until teammates and coaches pull him off.
Wiggins to Poole. Poole gets it off in time. Oh, he banks it in!
Here's the reveal that still doesn't sit right with people. There was no league discipline. Green was fined by the Warriors and voluntarily stepped away from the team for a stretch, but he didn't miss a single game, and the NBA took no action. The general manager's public framing was that these things happen, that nobody condones it, but it happens. And then the organization did something genuinely strange. The Warriors hired a law firm to hunt down whoever leaked the video, an investigation that went nowhere. Read that again. The manhunt was for the camera, not the fist.
With a little magic, somehow scores it.
Here's the cost. Poole wasn't injured, and he signed a lucrative extension weeks later. But that title defense never found its footing, and by July 2023 he was gone, traded to Washington, in the deal that brought Chris Paul to Golden State. Years later, Green was still apologizing publicly, and still being asked about it.
Still at 5 on the shot clock. Warriors rolling and Mama call him Clay.
Championship teams don't survive on talent, they survive on trust. Once a man has seen the tape of what you'll do to him, you can't unshow it. Now, you just watched a fight that shook a dynasty. What's next? Shook the 2 biggest names in the sport.
Golden State has a lot of time. Poole with the ball.
Number 3. Gary Payton versus Vernon Maxwell, Seattle Supersonics, 2000.
But just get open and didn't go up over it. And he's a hustler.
Here's the one nobody tells you about, and it's the only fight on this list where the men who tried to stop it were the ones who got hurt. March 26, 2000. Sunday practice in Seattle. Payton is a 6-time All-Star, running one of the best point guard careers in league history.
Well, what kind of offense they're running, but they got to get the ball inside sometimes. Gary Payton's on.
Maxwell is 34 years old and carries the nickname Mad Max for reasons everybody understood. They started needling each other and it escalated into a fight. 2 veterans stepped in to break it up, Horace Grant and Chuck Person. That decision cost both of them, because it didn't end on the floor.
Jazz has worked so well with him, the assistant for the Jazz, and outside another shot.
According to the Seattle Post-Intelligencer, The scene in the locker room got so intense that Payton picked up a chair and Maxwell went looking for a free weight, presumably as a weapon. Both men had to be restrained a second time and were walked out of the locker room separately.
Stay focused when you're playing defense, because the minute you relax, they take it.
Here's the damage. The Seattle Times reported Grant's shoulder injury came from a weight thrown during the altercation. He sat out the next night with a contusion of the left shoulder. Chuck Person, already on the injured list, aggravated a surgically repaired left knee. Grant's only comment, he called himself a victim of circumstance.
John Stockton, almost a career court. This team executes too well.
And this is the part that should stop you. The next night against San Antonio, Payton and Maxwell were slapping hands after baskets like nothing happened. Payton played all 48 minutes, 21 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. Seattle lost 90-82, their 4th straight defeat at home.
John Nolan's on Lewis, wide open in the corner.
Seattle.
The 2 men who threw the punches were fine. The 2 men who tried to keep the peace were in the training room. That's the ugly math of a locker room. The people who hold a team together are usually the ones who pay for it falling apart. Seattle didn't reach the playoffs that spring. That fight stayed inside the building. The next one was uploaded to the internet.
They're posting up Payton, they're double teaming, they've got to make them pay.
Russell inside, Cork.
Number 2. Jerry Stackhouse versus Christian Laettner, Detroit Pistons, 1999.
Put some distance between them and the Pistons right now. There's another defensive steal.
Remember this detail, because it's going to come back at the very top of this countdown. It started with a card game. Spring of 1999. The Pistons are flying home from Charlotte. Somewhere over the Midwest, a card game between 2 teammates stops being a card game.
Wallace with a near steal on Lindsay.
One source said the argument was over $2,000, and Stackhouse landed blows to Laettner's face. Players watched them trade punches at 30,000 feet until the scuffle was pulled apart.
They missed. Wallace hit a rebound, scraped away by Lindsey Hunter.
Here's the part that doesn't make the highlights. Laettner shouldn't have been able to take a punch at all. He'd been out of the lineup since fracturing a rib against Chicago on April 1st. The team's immediate fear wasn't the fight. It was whether the rib had just been re-broken by a teammate.
And you're in trouble.
Howard misfires. Wallace with the rebound, but he climbed the back to get it.
And the organization's response tells you everything about how the NBA handled this stuff. A team spokesman flatly denied a fight ever happened, saying he was on the plane and nothing occurred. Meanwhile, the Pistons quietly moved to ban card games on future flights. Nothing happened, but we're changing the rules anyway.
His face and distracted him a bit. Washington has clamped down.
Here's the pivot. Stackhouse and Laettner weren't enemies. Stackhouse has said Laettner was his closest friend on that roster, that they were together constantly, cooking food after practice every day. A Duke man and a North Carolina man who genuinely liked each other. That's what makes it land differently. It wasn't hatred, it was $2,000 and a long flight. Detroit made the playoffs that spring and went out in the first round. In this league, the thing that breaks a locker room is almost never basketball.
I'll tell you something. Wallace is a big presence in there on the glass.
Number 1. Michael Jordan versus Steve Kerr, Chicago Bulls, 1995.
Oh, the steal by Jordan. Goes in on Anthony. Yes! Michael.
Here's what the highlight reel leaves out about the greatest player who ever lived. He blackened the eye of the smallest man in the gym and then sat in the shower feeling like nothing.
Beautifully done. Beautifully done. Right here with Michael Jordan creating, right? What?
Fall of 1995. Jordan is back from baseball, back in a Bulls uniform, and furious about how the previous season ended. Training camp opens and Phil Jackson does something deliberate. He puts Steve Kerr, 6'1", on Jordan in a scrimmage. Jordan was talking non-stop trash, and Kerr was angry because his side was getting run off the floor.
Defense, and this is what Harris is talking about too. He needs his big guys to be aggressive, not only on offense.
And here's the first thing most people get wrong. Kerr threw first. Kerr, at 6'1", landed a shot to Jordan's body before Jordan came back with punches of his own and left him with a black eye. Kerr has said flat out he knew he couldn't win that fight. He did it anyway. Jackson threw Jordan out of practice.
Side does it again. You don't see guys go half court and dunk.
Now here's where it gets complicated. This is the part that reframes the whole thing. Jordan didn't wait a week to make it right. He left the facility, turned around, went back into the gym to get Kerr's phone number, and called to apologize that same day.
Fast shot, watch this, a fast break. 1, 2, 3.
The most feared competitor in the sport, embarrassed by his own hand. And what came out of it? Kerr has said standing up for himself was the best thing he ever did. That Jordan trusted him more afterward. That Bulls team went 72-10.
Throws the ball up. Mike is already up in the air. Look at him, up.
20 months after the punch, Game 6 of the 1997 Finals, 5 seconds left, tie game. Jordan draws the double team and gives it up. Kerr buries the shot that wins the title. A career 45.4% three-point shooter, best mark in league history. And the pass came from the man who once put him on the deck.
Knocked away, great.